In this video, we'll walk you through some of the key features of Stratos, and as we do so, we'll showcase Cloud Foundry and the SUSE Cloud Application Platform. So what you see here is the login screen for Stratos. Obviously, the first thing I need to do is to log in. Stratos will go ahead and authenticate with the Cloud Foundry User Account and Authentication Server, otherwise known as the UAA. So let me go ahead and do that. So the first view I get taken to is the Stratos application wall, and from here I can get a single view across all of the applications that I have permissions to view. And you can see I've already deployed some applications and they're in various states. So I have an application here that's healthy and one over here that's not so healthy. Stratos uses visual cues to draw administrators and developers' attention to applications where they may need to take some action. From this view, I can switch from the card view to a list view. I can also search for an application by name. So if obviously I had hundreds of applications, this is an easy way of finding that application. And I can choose to sort by various aspects of an application, so its name, quotas, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy a new application to my Cloud Foundry. I can do that directly from the UI. First off, I need to say where that application is going to be deployed. If I had multiple Cloud Foundries, I can choose the Cloud Foundry here. Otherwise, I need to select the organization and space where I want my application to live. Here are some I've just created for demo purposes. I'll go ahead and select one of those, and I'll select a space. Next, I need to say where the application source is for my application. We support a number of different locations, so GitHub, any old GitHub URL, and then a local application archive or folder. I'm just going to go ahead and choose a GitHub repository with a simple app. I can do that. We've gone out and fetched the information about that repository, and I can see my branches. I'll just stick them to the master branch. I can see the commits, so I could choose which commit I want to deploy. And then lastly, I can choose to override some of the aspects of that application. So Cloud Foundry uses an application manifest to specify a number of aspects of the application, like its name, number of instances, and the quotas. We will pick those up from that manifest, or the user can override these here. I'll leave them as is, and I'll go ahead and deploy. So in the background, Stratos will clone that Git repository, and it will push the application to Cloud Foundry in exactly the same way as you would do if you use the Cloud Foundry command line interface. It'll take a little while. You can see that Cloud Foundry goes through the staging process. This is where it uses build packs to actually build the application. And the output of that build is something called a droplet, and then that droplet is hosted inside of a container, and that's the running instance of your application. While that's deploying, I can go take a look at my application. So this is the summary view for an application. You can see we're showing various metadata about that application. It's still in the process of deploying, so it's staging. There are no instances yet, so there's no uptime. But we can see where it's been deployed. We can see information about the quota in terms of memory and disk. We can see what build pack that's not been updated yet. And we can see that we deployed it from GitHub. While that's deploying, let's take a look at some of the other tabs. So you can see we have instances. So each application can have one or more instances to scale the application up. And you can see as I've been doing this, the application is now deployed. They can also have routes. This application doesn't have any outward-facing application routes. We can look at the log stream. So this is a stream over WebSockets of this application. It's just outputting some sort of garbage at the moment, but you can see if we scroll up, we get to see the log from the deployment process. We don't have any services. We can come back to that later. And if we go to GitHub, we can see the information about which Git repository branch commit we use to deploy this application. And if we wish, we can pick a different commit and deploy from that one instead. So let's go back to instances. So one thing I can do is scale up this application. So at the moment I've only said I want one instance of this application. I could change that to 4. And you'll see that Cloud Foundry now will make sure that there are 4 instances of my application running. If I had a route associated with this application, then that would be load balanced across those 4 instances. And so pretty quickly they've all come up. Up here we're showing some statistics about the application in terms of memory, disk, and CPU. And I can do various lifecycle actions here. I can edit the application actually if I wish, change its name, change the disk quota, etc. I can choose to restart the application. The thing I can do from here is to SSH into an application instance directly. So if I do that, I'll get an in-browser terminal, and you can do the same sort of things you might expect from the command line. And I can close that out. It's useful if there are issues with a particular app instance that you want to diagnose. And I can obviously terminate an instance. If I do that, Cloud Foundry will obviously bring another one back up to make sure that I have the desired count of 4. I can also drill down into the Cloud Foundry view, and from here I can see all of the information about my Cloud Foundry, whether I'm an administrator, total number of applications in that Cloud Foundry, the number of organizations. I can look at my organizations. I can drill into an organization and get an overview. I can look at the spaces, and I can drill down into a space. Here's an example of a space that has a small quota, and you can see I've got 3 applications, and they're already using quite a lot of the quota, so it's highlighted red, and you might want to go in and increase that quota. Within that space, I can also just view the applications, service instances, routes, and the users. I can also choose to edit and delete spaces and organizations. Back up at the top level, I can also look at the users I have across my Cloud Foundry, and we have a UI for managing the users' access to organizations and spaces. I can stream the Cloud Foundry Firehose. I can also look at the feature flags for my Cloud Foundry, the build packs that have been deployed, the stacks I have. Here you can see we have the SUSE OpenSUSE stack in addition to the Cloud Foundry stack, and I can also look at the security groups. In the CAP 1.3, we've added support for both Kubernetes and metrics within Stratos. So I've gone into the endpoints view here, and I've registered my Kubernetes and metrics endpoints. I now need to connect to those, so let me do that right now. So because I'm using a CASP cluster, I need to specify my CASP kubeconfig file. I can go ahead and connect. We can see that we've connected Kubernetes, and it now appears on the left-hand menu. I can also go and connect my metrics endpoint. And we can see that's connected as well. And I can drill into metrics real quick and just make sure that it's worked out which endpoints in my system I'm providing metrics for. We'll look quickly at the metrics. So if I go back to one of my applications, you can see now, because I've connected the metrics endpoint, on the instances tab, I now see which Diego cell each of my application instances is running on. I've only got 2 Diego cells on this system. I can drill into one of those, and I can get a cell view. I can see an overview in terms of that cell. I can see some metrics for that cell in terms of the number of containers, remaining memory, and I can see which applications are deployed onto that cell. I can also go to that application and I see a new metrics tab, and from here I can look at the CPU, the memory, and the disk usage for that application and across each of the instances. So this is all being ingested into a Prometheus instance using the Stratos metrics deployed Helm chart. I can also drill into Kubernetes, and this is a view of my Kubernetes node. So I have a simple CASP system here with these 3 nodes, 2 workers, 1 master. I can see there's no issues in terms of the alerts, and I can see the number of pods on each and the total capacity. I can drill into a worker. I can get some information on that particular node. I can look at the metrics for that node. So again, I can drill down and I can see the various memory usage of the pods, CPU usage, etc. I can look at the pods on this node, and I can look at one particular pod, and again I can see the metrics for that pod. I can also see what namespaces I've got deployed, and again if I drill into a namespace, let's pick one that's got something in it, I can see the pods in that namespace. I can see an overall pods view, and I can see an applications view. So here we're using the Helm annotations to display which applications you've deployed via Helm into your Kubernetes environment. That's it for this short video. If you want to find out more information, please check out our GitHub repository.